Okay, welcome back. So today we're going to look at 1 Samuel chapter 7. And we've already looked at 1 Samuel chapter 7 and gone through several steps with 1 Samuel chapter 7. So today's lesson actually will be a little bit shorter because a lot of this is review. But I wanted to review this stuff so that we can then work toward the ECI, TCI, LCI, and putting a lesson together. So the stuff that we studied on 1 Samuel chapter 7 was all preparatory work for what we're doing today, but we need to review it so that we're sure of what we're thinking about and what the passage is talking about. Okay? So, let's go through the 9 steps. Now, I'm assuming you prayed, right? Okay, so, good. Step number 2, read before and after. So, real quickly, how do the surrounding chapters relate to your story?
Well, in chapter 3, Samuel is appointed a prophet by God.
Okay.
And in this chapter, he is a prophet.
Okay.
And then in chapter 4, the Philistines attack Israel, and also in this chapter.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Okay, we talked about there's more. How do they relate to each other? Chapters 4 and 7, the Philistines attack Israel. Chapters 5 and 6, the ark goes to Philistine territory and comes back, right? But in chapter 4, the ark is taken away from Israel, and Israel was defeated and fled all the way, well, they camped at a place called Ebenezer, right?
I think so.
And then in chapter 7, when they defeated the Philistines, they chased them and then set up a stone that Samuel called
Ebenezer?
Ebenezer. Thus far has the Lord helped us. Okay, so it's all connected. It's all connected. So, in what social or religious setting did this take place?
In Israel with Israelites?
In Israel with Israelites, where? What place?
Mizpah?
Mizpah, geographical setting. Okay, and the social setting was Samuel just called everyone together and said, I'm calling you to repent. Okay? Why do you think the author decided to tell this story?
To show how God was using Samuel as a prophet?
Okay, to show how God was using Samuel as a prophet, yes. But also, what else?
To show that once the Israelites turned back to God, he helped them defeat the Philistines.
Okay, yeah, good. Okay, so now let's identify the boundaries. Where does the story start and stop?
Starts at chapter 7, verse 3, and ends chapter 7, verse 17.
Okay, and what are the major sections?
There isn't really a background. And then, the rising tension would be verse 3 through
Well, it
10.
starts with crisis. Okay, crisis, yeah.
And then the rising tension would be verse 3 through 10a.
Okay.
And then the climax would be verse 10b.
Okay.
And the resolution 11 through 14 and conclusion 15 through 17.
Okay. Okay. Let's go back to the crisis part. I think you're right that you could say that there is no background. You could even say that verse 3 is background. Okay. Then you have the crisis, where technically you could say the crisis begins when Samuel says in verse 3, so in that case there would be no background. But verse 3, Samuel says, if you're returning to the Lord, then put away the foreign gods from among you. So the people put away the foreign gods and they serve the Lord only. Okay, so not much of a crisis. So then the story really begins in verse 5. Then Samuel said, "Gather all Israel at Mizpah, and I'll pray to the Lord for you." And so they're confessing against the Lord, and then the Philistines come. And that's where the crisis comes up. Is God going to be faithful to deliver them from the Philistines? And yes, you see that God did. Okay? Good. Oh, so what is the crisis?
Will God save Israel from the Philistines?
Okay, good. Okay, main characters. Who is the protagonist?
Samuel?
And the antagonist?
The Philistines?
The Philistines, okay. Is there a foil?
I don't think so.
Minor characters?
The Israelites?
Israelites, okay. Any descriptions of characters?
Mm-mm.
No, there really aren't any descriptions of characters. Any names and relationships? Any specific names or relationships?
Well, Samuel means God hears.
Okay, and beyond that?
I don't think so.
In verse 8, the Philistines come against Israel, and the people of Israel said to Samuel, "Do not cease to cry out to the Lord, our God, for us."
Mm-hmm.
They don't say the Lord, you are God. They say the Lord, our God. So they're identifying the Lord as their God. Does any main character have a speech?
Samuel does.
Okay. Where's his speech?
Well, he talks a couple times, but his speech is in verse 3.
Okay. And what does that show us about Samuel?
That he loves God and wants the people of Israel to follow him.
Okay, good. Good. This is all review, so it's going very quickly. Arrangement. Are there repeated words or phrases?
Well, cry out to the Lord is repeated.
Okay.
I think that's it.
There's a phrase that's repeated twice. In verse 3, Samuel says, "If you are returning to the Lord with all your heart, then put away the foreign gods and the Ashtoreth from among you, and direct your heart to the Lord." Then in verse 4 it says, "So the people of Israel put away the Baals and the Ashtaroth, and they served the Lord only." So they did exactly what Samuel said to do. So that was repeated there. Where does the author take a long time to say something?
Verses 3 through 12.
Okay, well let's talk about that. Verses 3 and 4. How long did that take?
I don't know. It could have been a longer speech than what is recorded here.
Right, so verse 3 could have been, it was just a short time, but then verse 4, how long was that?
That was probably several years.
I don't know about several years, but at least several days. For them to put away the Baals and the Ashtaroth, and they served the Lord only. So it's probably several years.
You mean...
Several days. Then in verse 5, Samuel said, "Gather all Israel to Mizpah, and I will pray to the Lord for you." Okay, so that took place in just a short time, with him saying that. And then verse 6, they gathered at Mizpah. And how long would that take? Well, that would probably take a few days to send out the word and get everybody together at Mizpah. And they drew water and poured it out before the Lord and fasted on that day and said there, "We have sinned against the Lord." And Samuel judged the people of Israel at Mizpah. So all that took several days, and then a whole day of fasting and confessing their sin to God. Verse 7, now when the Philistines heard the people of Israel had gathered at Mizpah, the lords of the Philistines went up against Israel. Again, that would have been probably a few days to gather their troops together, get organized, and go. And when the people of Israel heard it, they were afraid of the Philistines. And now it comes to a specific day. Okay, so we've had a progress of several days taking place between verses 3 and 8. And then in verse 8, we are focused now on a specific day. When they said to Samuel, "Do not cease to cry out to the Lord our God for us." Samuel prays. God defeats the Philistines. The men of Israel went out and strike the Philistines all the way to Beth-kar. And Samuel sets up a stone and calls it Ebenezer and says, "Till now the Lord has helped us." So from verse 8 all the way through verse 12 is one day. Okay? So, where does the author take a long time to say something? Verses 8 through 12. What's the focus that he's focusing on there?
Where the Philistines are attacking them and they're killing the Philistines.
The Lord is helping them, rescuing them, right? According to what Samuel had said. Good. Okay, and then verse 13 through verse 17 is a summary of Samuel's ministry. So that was over several years, 13 through 17. So that's not the focus of the chapter. So really the chapter has basically two main areas where it focuses. Where they gather together at Mizpah and are fasting before the Lord and praying one day. And then when the Philistines gather against them and God rescues them one day. Okay? So, pay close attention to details. Are there unexpected things in the story? Details that seem unnecessary?
In verse 6, where they say, "And drew water and poured it out before the Lord."
Right. What in the world is that about? I really don't know. I don't know. The closest thing that comes to my mind is something that takes place after this. Where David, one time when he was fighting against the Philistines and was really tired and was thirsty, and he said, "Oh, I wish that someone would give me a cool drink from the well at Bethlehem." And so 3 of his men broke through the enemy lines, went to the well at Bethlehem, got him some water, and came back and gave it to David. And David took that water and he poured it out and said, "I can't drink this because this is the blood of the men that went and risked their lives for me." In other words, this water is so valuable, they risked their lives to me. I can't drink it. I'm not worthy of drinking it. He poured it out.
I think I remember reading that story in family devotions and we're like, so they went through all that work to get him some water and they just poured it out.
Yeah. Well, David was honoring them by pouring it out. Yeah. But this is strange. Draw water, pour it out before the Lord. In some way, because of the context, we know that this shows that they were sincere before God. Because it's connected with fasting. Fasting and repenting. Okay? Now, are there expected things that are missing? Missing details?
I don't think so.
Okay. Is there some important information withheld until later?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think there is either. I think this is a pretty straightforward story. Are there references to customs, traditions, or laws that are found in the Mosaic Law?
Well, sacrificing to God.
Okay, sacrificing to God. Good. What else?
I didn't think there was anything else.
Okay. In the law, God had told them that if they were faithful to him, he would put their enemies to flight. That was part of the blessings. And so Samuel is reminding them of this, saying, if you are returning to the Lord with all your heart, God will deliver you out of the hand of the Philistines. Now, how did Samuel have the confidence to say that? Well, it was promised in the law. So he's relating to, he's reminding them of that law. And so the people are repenting and turning back to God. Does the story or elements in the story remind us of previous stories in the Bible?
I don't think so.
It reminds us of chapter 4.
Oh, well, that's not very far previous.
No, it's not very far previous, but it's intentionally written to remind us of chapter 4. What are some ways that it reminds us of chapter 4?
Well, the Philistines attack.
Okay. And that's the second time in the book of 1 Samuel that the Philistines attack. Okay.
I don't know what else.
In chapter 4, the Israelites were camped at Ebenezer. And then here, once they defeat the Philistines, Samuel sets up a stone and calls it Ebenezer, which means... Look at your footnote.
Stone of help.
Stone of help. Okay? And so Samuel is deliberately reminding the people here of the last time they got attacked by the Philistines. What happened the last time they were attacked by the Philistines?
They brought out the Ark of God and the Philistines captured it and defeated them.
Right. They brought out the Ark of God thinking the Ark of God was some good luck charm. And so here Samuel had said to them, put away the false gods. That's what's important. Not having the good luck charm of the Ark of God, but putting away the false gods and only serving God. Then he will rescue you. They do that, and even though they don't have the Ark of the Covenant with them, boom, God throws the Philistines into confusion with a thunder, and they're defeated before Israel. Give special attention to speeches or conversation. In stories, the things people say are often the key to the central idea. Do we see that in this story?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in what way?
In verse 3, where Samuel says, "Then put away the foreign gods and the Ashtaroth from among you, and direct your heart to the Lord, and serve him only, and he will deliver you out of the hand of the Philistines." And then the people of Israel put away their foreign gods, and God delivered them out of the hand of the Philistines.
Okay, yeah. That's what this chapter is all about. That Samuel says, serve God, and he will deliver you out of the hand of the Philistines. And that's what happens. It's not by carrying good luck charms into battle. It's not by your own craftiness and strategy or anything like that. It's follow the Lord, serve him only, not the other gods, and God will rescue you. Good. Okay, that finishes step 5. So for homework, do steps 6 through 9 on this chapter. Okay? Like I said, this was going to be a shorter lesson just because it's review. And next lesson will be a little bit longer because I don't think that's as much review. You're going to have to do a little bit more thinking. We're going to have to do a little bit more discussing. But that'll work. So, homework, steps 6 through 9 of the same chapter. Okay?
Okay.
All right.